you all to our school board meeting tonight. We're going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any needs for translation tonight? No? Okay. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to our student reps for our student rep report.
Okay, so senior night for football, cheer, band, and drill team is this Thursday. And also this week is we're celebrating Red Ribbon Week, which is a drug awareness dress-up week, and it's about being drug-free. So Tuesday, it's only a 3-day dress-up, and for Tuesday tomorrow is Put a Cap on Drugs, which is you wear a hat or a cap. And for Wednesday, it's Team Up Against Drugs, which is you wear jerseys or anything sports related. And Thursday is Red Out Drugs, where you just wear all red. And like you could go during, I think, lunch, and you could be like in a raffle. Like if you participate in these dress up days, you get a chance of winning like a JBL speaker.
Okay, so this has just been brought up to my attention by a lot of students. It's how students are noticing changes in lunch in a good way. So they're saying there a lot of students I feel like are getting more lunch now just because one change, which is from what I've seen, is we're getting different variety of chips. I don't know where that came from, but I guess it's a good thing. Sorry, this is so random. And then I also I saw Sister Amy and Marissa at the site visit at the OHS, and I wouldn't say sorry because they had to witness like my so for Avid that same day was binder checks, so we had to be organizing all of that. Everything was everywhere. I was like fixing my backpack, and then they walk in and I see Principal Tolar. I'm like scrambling to get everything together. But yeah.
Thanks, ladies. Do you guys have any questions for our student reps? I'm curious, how did you guys feel it went at the career day?
For me, it was awesome. I met so many new people. The week of the career showcase on Saturday, I went with Classic Grillin', and I was able to like have a day with them for like 2 hours. I didn't do my full site visit with them just because I had seen your photos that day. And it was amazing. I met a lot of amazing people. I got like 5 site visits just to like kind of see everything.
I think it was very beneficial, especially for seniors, and I did sign up for a site visit at the hospital, and I think it's a really good opportunity for seniors to like get an interest of like what they want to do in the future for their career. So I think it went really good and smooth.
Great.
And the fries were good from the food.
Do you guys have anything you want to add before we move on to board member discussions? Okay. We're going to turn it over to Director Gerber for our legislative report.
Nothing major today. The WASDA elections are over, and we submitted our priorities to WASDA. WASDA's been kind of sending out some stuff for how to handle the federal shutdown, which is still happening. So nothing too new for me on the legislative side.
Okay. November 3rd, we have our Scootney Springs site visit. And we need to also talk about our WASDA conference. Really quickly, for our site visit, we'll be meeting in the library at 8 a.m. And don't forget to invite people.
So for the WASDA conference, I just need to find out like who's going like in private vehicle, the district vehicle, are we carpooling, all of that kind of stuff.
Remind me approximately which time, when we leave and return with the district vehicle.
The dates on here, I think we're leaving on Thursday morning. And then we'll be back Saturday.
Are we leaving Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Not to be annoying, but I don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, I'll be there. I just don't know if I'm going to drive myself yet or not. We're good? Okay. Oh, no. Oh, never mind. I figured it out. Okay, at this time, I will accept a motion to approve required approvals.
I'll make a motion to approve the required approvals.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Now we have the opportunity to hear from our superintendent, Dr. Perez.
Yeah, thank you. Just two items tonight before we jump into the high school report. So looking forward to their presentation. The first one is a 3-slide deck about a partnership we entered into with Pacific Lutheran University. Dr. Meek and I and Amy Paris had an opportunity over the last couple of months to meet with the folks at PLU and talk about an opportunity for students like our student reps here, seniors at Othello High School, to streamline the process for applying and getting into PLU. And so you'll see here that through a simple interest survey that takes about 5 minutes, if you're a student at Othello High School and you graduate with a 3.3 or higher and you've completed Algebra 2, you'll be admitted into Pacific Lutheran University. And over the last few years, as PLU has tried to expand their all those colleges are really very competitive, looking for students to attend, right? And we have not sent a lot of students historically from Othello to PLU, so they made a specific outreach to our school district, looking to capture more of our students. Now, what's the benefit for the kids in our community? If you're a college-bound student, college-bound eligible, it's a program that the state puts out, you're also eligible for a PLU-bound scholarship, and for our students, that would mean about $23,000 this year available up front to help offset the cost of what is a very costly institution, but it makes it more in line with state-level schools. You also get some additional supports for campus tours and to bring your parents over and make sure that it's a good fit for you. You don't have to complete some of the course requirements that are particularly around foreign language and some other math and science requirements because they're making an assessment that the diploma from Othello High School is valuable and that students who do 3.3 work or better and pass Algebra 2 are ready for rigorous college coursework. And so we're excited about the partnership and I hope it's one of many others that we're able to establish. So we wanted the board to be aware of that and also our senior reps and tell your friends if you're interested in PLU and think it might be a spot for you, there's some opportunity there.
So this partnership is starting like currently? So
Yep, it'll be for this year's students. And what we will do behind the scenes, I know Dr. Meek's been working to put together a plan for our school counselors to share our data. We had a data share agreement with PLU. They'll sort the students, they'll reach out, they'll contact you, see if you're interested, those kind of things. So it's currently in place. It'll be for this year's graduates.
will they have like an on-site like direct admissions? You know how Central and Eastern does that?
Yeah, they do have that opportunity as well. It's very similar to that program.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Remind me, where is PLU?
In Tacoma, at T-Town, as Dr. Meek refers to it. And then the next one is around, no slides for this one, but for what seems like 10 years, but I think it's more like a year and a half, we've been working on the Othello School District website. And so there will be a refresh of the website. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes to take our information over, a lot of design work that the Leah Lemus has been leading. We're ready to launch that on November 15th. So we're hoping on that day that everything transfers over seamlessly and our parents and our kids and our community members are still able to access information there. But we're excited for the fresh look and wanted you to be aware if you hear from community members that, hey, the website looks different, what's going on. It's been a long-term project, and I think when Thalia returns, it'd be nice to have her come in and share with the board what that process was like and perhaps get some feedback from you all about the new website. So that'll be coming soon.
So you said November 15th?
Yes.
So the next meeting before that, could we get just a small presentation, like show us and navigating it and everything that we can?
Yeah, we
tell-
can
tell
see
parents
if
and
there's
families?
I got you. If there's like a sort of sandbox way to play with the website and look at it, yeah, we'll work on that for sure. We'll add that to superintendent informational items for the meeting on the 10th. Okay, that was it for me this evening.
Okay, we're going to dive right into our OHS site visit. No pressure.
Probably.
That's okay.
Can you guys hear me? Yep. So tonight we're here. You guys were with us last Monday and you guys heard a little bit of our story and just kind of anecdotal things that we've been experiencing around facilities, standards reference teaching, and some of the off-campus lunch privilege in our fencing. Tonight we're going to show some of our data to kind of give you some more details around the work that we've been working on. So we have been working on systemic goal number 1, which is using data to implement integrated district and school-wide systems so that we can ensure that all students and staff are known and cared for. We've been working on that process for about 1.5 years, and what that really has meant is getting my admin team and I on the same page around when we're talking about a kid struggling with attendance, we're talking the same language, as well as classroom teachers have been feeling, or the culture at the school has been, I'm a student, I'm struggling with attendance, I'm struggling with academics, but it's all been placed on the teacher. And this has really been our journey the last 1.5 years, has been trying to go from a disorganized model where we can throw a bunch of things at a student and hope that something sticks so that we can keep the kid engaged in school, to a more streamless process where there's teacher support and student support, and we're looking at our data to really align, okay, we have this bucket of kids who are struggling with behavior things, let's get these resources and supports available to the students. If they manage to hit in several different categories, then it's how do we work together to make sure that the kid has one point of contact to be able to have the academic support or behavior support available. Or we could even say attendance, because attendance still is a little bit of an issue, but we've been doing a lot of things, and Josh will go ahead and talk about that a little bit later. So each administrator we call it a focus area. You may also hear us talk about it as a garden. And so each of us are going to kind of talk to you about our focus area and what we're seeing in our data, and also talk about a little bit more in depth around what does a success team process look like and how we're using that data to drive some of our conversations.
So first thing we had to do is find a common language. So whenever we're talking about our students who are in red, green, or yellow, we had to look at thresholds. We had to have our groups, and this came, we had feedback from teachers, from the SIT team, and our behavioral leadership team. And as you can see there in academics, what we want to do is how do we encourage our students to stay in the green? We don't want them to have any failing classes. 1 to 2, they go to yellow. 3 or more, they're in red. And this is kind of aligned with what Kat had said earlier. What resources do we have? So if they're in these categories, we already have those resources ready, so we already know what to pull and try to get support for those students to get to get their grades up. And then we'll also be looking at their credits. Attendance, we look at, here we started with a 4-week, and then we were talking about looking at a 2-week span, but based on 4 weeks, we were wanting 90% attendance to stay in the green, 80% attendance to be in yellow, and anything below that you would be in the red, which means when we pull our data, it's color-coded and we know who we need to reach out to and give those supports. Tardies also, we're going to be looking at that. It's also tardies for 90%, 80%, and below. Behavioral, so any referrals. So this is any referrals that the student gets, whether it's the phone referrals, whether it's just anything that a teacher may do a referral for, or we may have to write a referral for. 1 or less, you're in the green. And then it goes from there 2 to 4, and then more than that. And a suspension, any suspension is automatically a red, because we want to get support to those students as soon as we can. This also is what our sports is looking at also, for them to be eligible to play.
With our thresholds, not only has it been a partnership with the admin team and us getting clarity around our work, it's also been, and our department chairs and all of that, it's also been bringing in our counselors and other resources that we've had to really get clarity with them, so that when we're talking about academics and failing classes or credits, we're speaking the same language with our counselors, and they're a key player when it comes to our success team as well. So the thresholds and all of the system couldn't be done without our counselors.
Can I ask a quick question? Where do parents find out if their kid is in the green, yellow, or red?
Brenda will be hitting on that a little bit later.
Sorry.
I'll talk a little bit about academics right now, and I want to draw attention to when we talk about kids being in buckets or green, yellow, and red, it's not about labeling kids. It's about a way for us to keep score. How's the health of our system at the high school, so that we can find trends in what's happening with our student body, so that we can align the supports that they need. So while we do have individual student names in all of these different fields, we look at it at a bigger level and then provide the support to the individual student that needs it. So we have 2 graphs up here, or 2 charts. One is on track to graduate. So that means that 91% of our seniors right now at Othello High School are on track to graduate. So if everything stays the same and the school year ends today, we actually assume that we're going to pick up probably another 3%. So our graduation rate is looking pretty good. We do have 5% of our current seniors that need a little extra support, so we're working with them on credit recovery, things like that. Same thing goes for our juniors and our sophomores. I would highlight this year, our sophomores historically have been around, 60% on track to graduate after their freshman year. That was one of the reasons, and Scott will talk about this. Actually, I'm going to save this. I'm probably stealing your thunder, so I'm going to let you talk about it. But you can just see where each of the grade levels is at. The next level we go to is our F list, and that's real time. We pull that once a week to see how many students are failing and what classes they're failing. So to be in the green, you're passing all your classes. In the yellow, it's 1 or 2 classes that we're struggling with, and more than 3 is put you in the red bucket. So again, it's about aligning supports, not about labeling students. So you can see we have some, one of the focus areas right now is on our sophomore class, getting them caught up in their classes. It just gives us, and those ebb and flow as we go throughout. I think if you were to look at this again in 2 weeks, because we just had parent-teacher conferences, those grades will all of a sudden start to pick back up. So that's kind of where it's at with that. And like I said, if you saw our spreadsheet, which I can't share with you tonight because it does have student information, but you'd see a student name and then each of the classes that they're struggling in. So we find patterns within classes too. Like, for example, if there was a U.S. history class and they had a big project and students were struggling with it, then we'd throw extra supports there to say, okay, talk to me about this project. What can we do to help get the kids through it? So
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned credit retrieval. So once they do fall behind in credits, what's their best avenue for catching up in that?
Our best avenue that we've had historically is doing online classes as credit retrieval or summer school. Summer school does help students pick up a lot of credits, but we also have students that go in and now we work on the Edgenuity program through Miss Jones or Mrs. Jones at our hub over at the high school. So they can go in after school. They come in on Monday morning, sometimes and work, and they just work outside of school. They come in to take tests. And since it's a credit recovery class, they test in each of the different areas for the class. And if they pass the pre-assessment, it goes on to the next one. It only targets them to work on the areas that they're struggling with. So if it was an Algebra 2 class and I got everything but like the last 2 units, it's going to focus me in on those last 2 units because I already know the top part. So it's trying to help accelerate. They've already sat through the class once. We don't want to make them just sit through and learn stuff that they already know again. Let's focus on what they're struggling with and get them the supports they need there. So
I just wanted to step back for a moment to Director Prowse's question, and I don't need to answer it now, Brenda. It'll be for Director Prowse. But where would you want to be able to find whether or not your students in one of those, what bucket they're in?
Well, I know that since Parent Square became a thing, that's where I go for all my information. That's how I communicate with teachers. That's how I find out. I do jump over to Skyward to find out their grades. But honestly, I mean, even on Parent Square, they'll say, like, here's a midterm report and send me an overview of, like, my child's grades. So I rely on Parent Square a ton to get information. So if I logged into Parent Square and it said your child is in a red situation, or there was a red icon by her name, I would know, like, okay, she's in trouble, both at home and school. But
So some celebrations that I'd like to talk about. We started doing an intervention program on Saturdays after school last year, specifically with our freshmen. It worked pretty well, so we kind of piloted it last year and now are pushing it to 10-12 as well. So we have those systems, and a new one this year for everybody actually came from one of our counselors. She's like, we have late starts and we have a bunch of kids that just sit here in the corridor waiting for school to start. What if we got them some help and they did some homework out there? And we said, well, duh, I've been working here for 10 years, and that never crossed my mind. That's a really good idea. So we got that put in place, and we had 40 students show up this morning to get extra help for our Monday morning intervention. The first week we did it, we had 2. So it is, it's growing. It takes some time to build that culture, and it's hard for students sometimes to say, I'm struggling in this class and I'm going to admit it by going to this. So we've been reaching out to parents and saying, here's the deal, we can get you transportation. And I have to give a huge shout out or thanks to our transportation department. I send them the list of students that need transportation on Fridays, and they pick them up in the morning on Mondays and drop them off. So we couldn't do this if it wasn't for Marion and the team out there. So really want to thank them. Another celebration point is we have started, or we decided this last year, that the high school is going to move towards an ACT testing environment, and we had 1,100 students at Othello High School on October 14th take the pre-ACT or the ACT. So everybody took it in the school at the same time. Seniors took a little bit longer because their test was longer, and they can talk to you about how grueling it was, and they were all pretty exhausted when they were done. But was it the smoothest? No, it was the first time we did it, but we learned a whole lot. And we're pretty proud of the fact that we were able to get that done and had so many students that really engaged in the process. Well, I guess I can click it. So next steps for us, like some areas that we still have room to grow, is we still need to continue to expand our intervention support, still build that culture of students coming in and getting that, particularly our after school and our Monday morning programs, still continuing to grow that. The next one is to expand our alignment of real-time supports for our students. There's always a slight lag in data because you have to gather the data and then identify the students. So we're working on streamlining those processes so that when the need is identified, that we're closing the gap on how quickly we can get the supports to them. So it just takes a while, again, to build those systems and to get used to how we're doing things in this new way. And the other next layer for me in my area is sending the data out to the teachers, which we do once a week, but then getting perception data from the students. Like, I know this student isn't read yet, but I think they need a little bit of extra help. So getting that perception data and that feedback from the teachers to just increase our real-time support is the next biggest key, I think, for moving that system forward.
All right, so next we have the current reality of our current freshmen. In that second column, you can see their attendance. We have 90% of our freshmen that are in the green bucket. Yellow, we have 58 students that are in the yellow bucket, and we have 39 of our students that are in the red bucket. And I'll talk in just a little bit about celebrations as far as attendance goes and academics. Our behavior, we have 98% of our students that are doing what they're supposed to be doing and have 0 or 1 referrals. And you can see the numbers even below that are very, very small. We have 1% are in yellow, and 1% are also in red. Academics, we are currently at 59% of our students that are passing all their classes or maybe possibly failing one. We have 111 that are in the yellow and 37 that are in the red. And again, I want to mention academics and attendance here in just a moment as far as the celebration. Wrong way. So this has been mentioned a little bit before, our academic supports. We do have Saturday school. Next Saturday school is November 8th, and then our last one first try is on November 22nd. Somebody had also mentioned that right after conferences, we'll have a big push for our students coming into Saturday school. I want to say last year we set a record of about 74, 75 students showed up on a Saturday school, so they were coming in, making up a lot of classes, making up a lot of assignments, and really helped out pushing them from either red to yellow or from yellow to green. Made a huge improvement. We also have tutoring in the library from 2:30 to 4:30. We have Gear Up Tutoring. We also have a certified teacher there every single day. After school with teachers until at least 3 o'clock. A lot of our teachers do spend a lot of their time after school as well. Some are there till 4 and some are there until 5 o'clock working with students. And like David said, we also have our Monday morning corridor intervention, which is starting to pick up numbers. So usually in the celebrations, we don't talk about students in the red, but I'd mentioned that a couple times. And last year at this time, we had a little over double the amount of students in the red, freshmen, than what we do this year. So I think that's a huge success, a huge celebration. Attendance has also increased. Part of that is due to our leadership students helping out with CBE and trying to show our other students what that vision is at the high school. Also with our lunchtime privilege has helped increase that as well. We have had 118 freshmen bring credits from McFarland to the high school, anywhere from a half a credit to 3 credits. They're off to a very good start on their high school career. Priscilla Tovar, who is the freshman counselor, and I have been meeting with students in small groups of about 8 to 10. And we've been talking to them about graduation and what it means to graduate, how many classes that they need and how many credits that they need, just so that they're aware. And the students that we're meeting with are currently failing 2 or more classes. So we're trying to get that information out to them so that way they know exactly what they need to do to be able to graduate. As far as next steps go, freshman students, I'm going to be meeting with Priscilla Tovar individually, and we're going to be having a meeting as far as looking at individual attendance and their behavior and their academics and trying to align them with some more supports that can help them in all 3 of those areas. And also continuing with our academic supports with that meeting and again, trying to get more students in the different supports that we have at the high school.
Can I ask a quick question? You said leadership was helping students with CBE. What's CBE?
We're gonna answer that in just a little bit.
Okay.
You're 2 for 2.
I have a question. So there's a lot of conversation about the Husky Pack and some of the new systems in place for tracking student performance and supports that kids need. You had the Husky Pack last year. What are you all seeing, or what are the staff seeing around our sophomores? How are they doing?
You can go for it. Okay. We are noticing that they are struggling a little bit more because there is a little more freedom for our sophomores. But we think that with the off-campus lunch privilege, that's kind of toning things down. But we are seeing that our sophomores are struggling a little bit because we held on to them so much freshman year and really helped them learn the processes that we are seeing that they are struggling a little bit.
One thing that I noticed with my sophomore is that as a freshman in Husky Pack, there was a lot of supports around, I don't know if babying them or whatever you want to call it, but she really just was, I don't know what else to say, but someone held her hand along the way, I guess it felt like. And she would go long periods of time slacking off and then pull it all together at the end and be like, And this year, you can't do that. And so I have seen her struggles with, well, I turned in this assignment, my teacher's telling me it's too late. I can't, even though I warned her, and I think many of the students knew things were going to be different this year. There's going to be on a tighter leash. You got to, get your stuff done. But I think maybe that's just information from a parent who had a freshman in Husky Pack and now has a sophomore, that I don't know if she was underprepared or just isn't taking it as seriously because she really got the helps last year and so is struggling a little bit more now sophomore year.
I think a lot of our it's not just sophomores, it's a lot of our students are adjusting to and our student reps are shaking their head like, yeah, it's everybody, because we're allowing the teachers to say after 2 weeks, you don't have to take anything. Because it was so loose, and we kind of tightened that system up. So students are having to learn a little bit of a different lesson now, where there are deadlines and you need to meet them. So it's not just sophomores, it's everybody that's kind of adjusting to that.
And what you had mentioned, that our Husky Pack teachers had noticed that as well, and so they were kind of hoping to tighten things up a little bit so that way they wouldn't have that, I guess, sophomore, I'll say withdrawal for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Great.
So good evening. Relevant to attendance, this is a snapshot of the last 2 weeks when we put this together. Please keep in mind this data changes every week, but the last time we ran this, on the very top I gave you guys a total of the number of students that we had enrolled and how many kids were in green as an entire school. We're sitting right around 3/4 of our student population that are missing 2 or less days in 4 weeks. When you look at this diagram, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but we were talking about sophomores. Sophomores actually had the best attendance, most students in green during that last 2-week period of time. But again, this does change, so it kind of goes in phases depending on what's kind of going on in our school at the time. So again, when you look at all grade levels, again, it's 3/4 of our school is in green. And I know that we're encouraged to focus on the greens, and we have a lot of systems that we're putting in place to keep kids in green. But I also live in a world of red where I look at who these kids are, because we try to put systems in place to let to help these kids not fall between the cracks. And you'll kind of be hearing a little bit about some of those systems. But this is our attendance. And again, we do a really effective job. I didn't put it up here as a celebration, but obviously this is my first year at the high school, and I commend them for the work that they're doing with collecting data. The first few weeks, it was confusing. It was a lot of work. Jesse Reyes, my secretary, had to go to David a lot because our dates have to line up in order for it to all make sense. So collecting the data is one thing, and then putting pieces into play for the work as what are we going to do, which is the action steps. And I just kind of want you guys to know, what are we doing differently in the area of attendance? Because I know that the community often asks you and often asks us, hey, what do you guys do? So if a student is not coming to school, I call it step one. What are we doing? We do the automated phone messages through Parent Square. We do human phone calls as well to make sure that these kids, maybe a parent just as an oversight, they forgot to call in to excuse them. We also have face-to-face meetings with myself. Jesse Reyes sets up every week. We have several meetings going on in our place. We have admin, counselor, teacher collaboration through emails. So every student that we communicate with, or every parent that we communicate with, whether it's by phone, whether it's at Walmart, whether it's in person, we send out an email to all players, meaning all counselors, or I should say the specific counselor who the student belongs to, all of their teachers, as well as all as OHS admin. The reason for that is that we're all in the communication loop with a specific student who might be going through some hardship in their life. If they're still not coming to school, we go to step 2, which is where they start losing their off-campus lunch privileges. And Lindsay, you say you go to Skyward. If you notice the black X, that means your son or daughter has lost off-campus privilege for one of these 3 focus areas.
I don't think parents can see
parents
that.
can't see it. Oh, my apologies. I guess you cannot see that. Maybe that's coming.
I am curious, though, will parents be
That might
able-
be coming with when they talk later on about the.
So one thing parents can do is if they're curious, they can call the school, and our front office ladies can tell you or tell parents where their kids are, if it's in attendance, academics, or if it's behavior.
Is there plans for that to show up on Parent Square?
We are
eventually?
looking at seeing what are other ways that we can streamline it so parents can get the information.
So in addition to losing the off-campus privilege, we also have student success meetings, and these are held in the hub. We have anywhere from 8 to 12 students that come in at a time. We usually have 2 to 4 of these per week, where we're meeting with the students. We provide them with their attendance report. We provide them with a contract that says, hey, this is where you're at. This is what your current unexcused absences look like. Encourage your parents to call in to excuse you. And then we give them the next steps in case they don't improve their attendance. And oddly enough, the majority of the kids that come to the success meetings are improving regardless of their grade level. We've kind of modified this every week. We're now going by grade levels. When we don't have a lot of, let's say, freshmen, then we'll merge freshmen with sophomores for these meetings. Again, we also make them aware of all of the academic successes that Scott talked about, that David talked about, and we invite them to attend those as well. But again, remember, we're trying to get them to show up to school first, and then we can go to the extras. But we still make them aware of it. Step 3 is we then have a parent attendance success meeting that is usually held after school or towards the latter part of the school day. And this is where the student and the parents come in, and we make them aware of where their son or daughter's at. We also make them aware of the next step, which is the community engagement boards, where we actually file a formal BECA petition. Again, if a student is over the age of 17, we're probably not going to file a truancy petition because it's a lot of work, and they're 17 already. So we basically talk to them like an adults and try to coach them and convince them to come to school. Again, at the end of the day, 17 and 18-year-olds, there's no purpose of going to a community engagement board or even a formal district court truancy hearing. So that would be step 5. This year has been our best year. This is another celebration. We have yet to get to the parent attendance success meetings, but I know that I will have one either this week or next week. So it's the first round. We're also barely getting ready to start our first community engagement board, and we're already almost in November. We would have had 4 of them by now in any normal year. So some of these processes, they do take a lot of time, but they do pay off. And I know what you're looking at in the data, but any given month, the data can be 5% higher, 5% lower, but our goal is to shoot for 90% or better as an entire school.
I would say that we not only would have had 4 CEB meetings where we have the parent meeting with the board, but we would also already have 200 kids that we're needing to go through the process. So that's definitely down because of the targeted work that Josh has been doing with home visits and having ongoing conversations with families about the supports we have available.
Can I ask a quick question, Josh?
Yeah.
On this page with the attendance, is that excused or unexcused?
We look at
Oh.
unexcused.
Unexcused. Okay.
Let me go back. David, on that particular sheet, that is
It's unexcused.
unexcused only, right? Okay.
Okay.
And the main purpose for that, Lindsay, is because if we started looking at the excused ones, we're going to run into problems because parents, they excuse their kids and that's their right. So we want to avoid those issues and focus on the unexcused only.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of times parents forget to call in for, let's say, a surgery. So that's why we do the human phone calls, just because we want to make sure so we don't upset any parents.
Before we move past that slide, I would like to ask the board members a question about, oftentimes you'll hear from community members or staff about, are we setting them up for success in the real world? I think about that with the late work and tightening that up a little bit. If you look at this here as employers or supervisors, how would this compare to employees who have poor attendance? Would this line up well, or what would you tell kids about when they show up to work for you? Are they going to get this many opportunities?
Definitely not.
Maybe not 5, maybe 1 or 2, but.
Get a warning, and then you get to meet with HR, and then things like that. But yeah,
We don't have HR. I'm the HR person, and I would not be happy. We wouldn't have 5 steps. But I mean, I think it's just setting a good foundation of, like, you know, hopefully tightening up some of their actions.
Yeah, and I think it's important for when we're thinking about young people, right, who are learning the process, that we make those connections for them and let them know, hey, here you have all these opportunities where we're going to intervene and support. At work, they're going to say, you need to be on work next time on time. Oh, you called in again? Hey, we don't need you anymore. And how quickly the employers will move on. And I think the categories that the high school has identified around academics, behavior, and attendance are really important, because when you're looking for employees, can they get along with others and do they come to work? All right, we can start there. I'll train you on what we do in our business and what we expect you to get done. So thanks for that.
Again, creating good habits. The number one argument we hear from kids is, what does it matter, Tovar? I'm passing my classes. And it's about habits and instilling positive habits that are going to help them keep their job in the future. I was also asked to give a kind of an update on how the transition from DOHS to OHS has been for a lot of our students. The disclaimer is I'm not speaking for every single kid, but I do talk to the majority of our students. And one of the things that we committed last year was some of these support systems, like, hey, we're going to have these hub classrooms for these kids. That continues to be the case, and it's ongoing. Those are not just for DOHS past students. These are for any student who would benefit from a smaller classroom size. The Husky Hub Action Framework, this has to do with basically us focusing on attendance, their behaviors, academics, all the supports that we can give in this particular office. And I think the biggest surprise about the Hub office is the amount of traffic that we get. It's crazy some days, and it's a good thing. It's just a really good thing, but it's just a big hub for anyone to I guess, to come and find the resources that they need. Individualized plans, we do this on a daily basis depending on what the need of the student is, and it varies from a modified day, putting a kid in an opportunity program, online digital learning. So again, we have all of the above, providing services in our online digital learning program with Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones, and the work that they're doing. Currently, we have 12 students. Again, that number changes like almost daily, depending on the need of the kids. The opportunity program, I just remind you guys, because it says 4 students currently. Remember that this is also for kids that are short-term and long-term suspended at both MMS and OHS. And right now, before this meeting, I think I said we had 12 or 14 students currently in there. Some of those kids are in there for 4 days. Some of these kids are in there for 3 days. And we got kids on deck that are waiting to come in as well, that haven't been released from Martin Hall, but they'll be coming in here in the next few days. So again, kids come in, kids go out. Nobody knows why they're there. They're just there to get the help, and the help that they're getting is using Google Classroom. Some of them might be on Edgenuity, depending on how long they're going to be there. And we currently have a handful of MMS students there as well. And then the revision of the truancy process, we're living that every day in the work that we're doing. So here's some stats. So what we had when we first started the year, we had 48 students who made the jump from DOHS to OHS. 18 of these kiddos were aging out. They didn't have enough credits. They saw basically the pathways that they had, and either they felt that going to work or going through the GED was a better route. And out of those 18, we're pushing 40 plus students right now at SkillSource. And that was as of last week on Thursday or Friday when I talked to Alicia. That's a really healthy number. So they really appreciate the collaboration between the work that we're doing at OHS and sending kids their way. 2 students are still at the Washington Youth Academy. They started the year there, and they're scheduled to graduate here in late November. And then we have 1 student at Running Start at CBC right now who's, I think I heard today, doing pretty well. So we're super proud of her. So that's kind of an update of what we have for our students. Academically, 22 students started the year on an academic contract, which basically means they were on the verge of, if they fail classes, they may not make it for graduation purposes. 3 students are in red out of those 22. 1 dropped out and decided SkillSource was a better route for them. And 0 students are failing more than 1 class right now that came over from DOHS. It's really funny because they'll tell you, oh, I hate it here, Tovar, but yet they're there every single day and they're having fun in classes. So I think they have a front that they didn't really want to come, and they still have to keep up that front. But at the end of the day, the majority found it like comfortable, and they're finding a home there at OHS. So, but don't get me wrong, we still have a couple kids that would rather be in a smaller environment. So attendance, we have 3 students in red from when we put this presentation together. 1 student with 1 major referral from DOHS, but most of our kids are doing pretty well. We have 3 students who we are greatly concerned about. And like I said, out of those 3, 1 of them already decided to go to SkillSource because of her age. Improved truancy processes is basically what I already talked about, but overall, we just want to make sure that the systems that we have in place are effective and they're paying off for our students. So that's it for attendance. If anybody has any questions.
I have a question. It might be a little bit off topic, but do you have any students from the high school who kind of self-refer to the hub, kind of it being a little more normalized, DOHS and OHS aren't super separated and feeling more comfortable?
Yeah, so they come in different ways, Mariah. So like some say they want to go online. And the thing about when a student says, I just want to go online, you got to really look at what are the reasons. So there's a process that you have to go talk to your counselor. And then with the counselor's help, they'll fill out an application to see what are the real reasons why they want to go online. If a student has genuine reasons, the teaching and learning team, they reserve the right to approve or not approve a student. If you're just trying to run away from school and you don't want Tovar to take you to court and you just want to go online, they're going to see through that, and that's not going to be an effective way. But if you truly need that type of learning environment, they'll put you in there. Sometimes it might just be you need like a different English class in a smaller environment. So we have core classes through, we call them hub classes, but they're basically a smaller classroom environment that is designated to help these students in those areas. So we do have, every day we have kids self-referring. They don't all get in. Sometimes it's our teachers and our administrators that think that environment would be more beneficial for a particular student, and we'll do whatever it takes to help a kid be successful.
So I have a question. So SkillSource is like not an alternative, or what do you want to call it? Well, because from what I'm understanding is it's kind of like a second backup thing if you don't want to graduate. Is that what it is?
It's an alternative pathway to graduate. You can earn a high school diploma through SkillSource. You can also earn a GED through SkillSource. They also offer a lot of WorkSource programs, which means they'll help you they'll pay half your salary, but they'll place you in a position, let's say at the, what's the place across the street from the high school? The Lighthouse. We've had a lot of kids get placed at the Lighthouse. So it depends on which program, because when you come into SkillSource, they kind of interview you to see which program would be best for you and what are you looking for as a student.
We partner with SkillSource through the state. There's a program called Open Doors Reengagement. It's a dropout prevention program. And they're our partner they manage that program for us, and they kind of run that for us. So they're part of the Othello School District, but they're a private thing. But it's really the last ditch effort to keep a kid engaged in school instead of just having them completely drop out. So all of what Mr. Tovar said, but that's the technical designation it falls under for the state of Washington.
All right, the off-campus privilege. So this one was started off this year. We decided, okay, we're going to do this. We weren't expecting it to be ready to go till October because we didn't. That's when we thought our fencing would be in, but they got our fencing in like right at the beginning, and so we jumped right in. Some things that we've found out is that since we've started it until we took the last data, our attendance had increased by 40%. So that's the classes through the whole day, because if they're not in class 6 periods, whether it's 2 today, 3 tomorrow, or whatever, 6 of those count. 5, 6. 6 count as a whole day. So our daily attendance did increase by 40%. Also, whenever you look at the data that we've shown, our attendance is sticking around 96%. So 96% of our kids are coming to school and staying there. What's really neat is that we'll hear side conversations where kids they won't even try to scan out for lunch because they'll say, no, I already know I have too many tardies, I'm not even going to try. So it's becoming a culture, and the kids are understanding the expectations, and so they know what we expect of the students and the performance, and they know how to fix it. Parents are contacting and asking if students attend available supports. So whenever parents have been contacted or they know that a student has been invited to Monday support or Saturday school, we actually have parents that will call and say, did my student attend? And so we do have attendance records. They sign in, and we're able to let the parents know if they did or didn't. And then we go from there. Did you want to add anything? Okay. So with all of this, just with the conversations and looking at our data, our students are becoming more accountable for their actions, and they can also speak to you as to what they need to improve. We've also been hearing from our teachers. Our teachers are saying, I'm seeing kids that I've never seen before, because they would maybe skip 4th period because it's after their lunch. So they're just going to take a longer lunch and they're not going to come back. Now they're here because they know they can't miss that period after lunch. And so they're getting to see the students that they normally have decided to skip. So they're getting to know more of their students and building those relationships and helping them be successful. Also with the fencing, and this is staff and students, they are feeling safer, especially with as open as our campus was. And we hear a lot also from the teachers in the back portables, that with that fencing and it being regulated and everything, they're feeling safer. They're not having to watch their students plus look out the window and see if who's coming or who's going. We're serving, they said 700.
So prior to last week in your site visit, we had been told that they had served about 500-600 lunches or breakfasts. Last week they hit their ultimate high since COVID, which was 720 lunches. So you mentioned more kids are eating at school.
It's the chips.
That is a reality.
Yep. And also the admin are able to be more visible. So with the fencing and everything, we have some of our favorite spots that we're seeing. Parents really do see, they've even made a comment. Was it an email or we got a phone call or something? A parent was driving by and they've seen the admin out there, they've seen security out there, and they have commented on how thankful they are, and they feel like it's made it safer for their students. And they're just glad that they see us out there. Let's see. Some of the challenges that we have come, the facility, so with the increase of our lunches, the seating for our students is getting tight. So it's really hard for all the students if they stay on campus, because our lunchroom will only hold about 350 students. And so if it gets more than that, or if we're looking at inclement weather or anything, now we're trying to, okay, what are we going to do? So that's one of our challenges that we're thinking about. Also, what we found out, one lunch, it doesn't work. It's very chaotic. It gets a little crazy. So we are looking at, well, David's looking at making sure that we can have a bell schedule that would allow for 2 lunches, no matter what the schedule looks like that day. And again, this is helping our kids want to stay green. And it's amazing because I've got to have so many conversations with students because they'll, so I'll mention the zeros and the X's, the O's and the X's. So when the parents fill out the form giving the students permission, on our end, when we look up the student, there's a blue O. There's a square with an O in it, which means the parents have given permission for that student to leave campus. Beside that O, if there's a black X, then that means that either, and I have 6 of these, parents have called and said, take my student off of lunch privileges until I hear further. Or they have become red in those 3 areas. Well, either tardies, attendance, behavior, or grades. And in the conversations I've got to have with the kids is that, okay, why? And I get to sit down, talk with them, and let them know that this isn't forever. And here's where you need to improve, here's what you need to do. And then if it's grades, we try to do it within a week. Because if they're going to put in the work and get their grades up, then we try to make sure that they get their privileges back within a week. The others is usually a 2-week rotation. So if they're on you can't leave campus, but here's what you need to improve, and if you do that, you get to leave the longest in 2 weeks. And that's been really good because the students have even asked me, oh, so it's not until the term or whatever. And it's like, no, you get to earn it back. We want you to have this privilege. So that's been really good on my part. I've loved the conversations I've had with the students. And again, this is the families also communicating with me and talking with me and letting them know what their expectations are for their students. The one thing that we're finding, because we are having so many more students on campus, is the thin supervision. So we're trying to think of things of, can we get parents to come in and help us just be present? So around the fencing, around just where students are eating. I've had to talk to students today about their lunch trash, and ask them. They did a great job today. They followed through. Because students are finding anywhere they can on campus to sit and have lunch. So that is, I think that's kind of where we're at for the supervision, because I do pull the paras for the scanning. So I have about 3 paras per lunch to scan. And we get through the lunches in 6 to 8 minutes. Yeah, it's pretty quick. And plus the students already know the routine. They know to have their ID ready, and they're ready to go. So it's been really great. The students have done really great with this.
Before we move past the lunches, I do want to make one comment, and then it might surprise you a little bit. I've been working with Amy Suarez and Dr. Meek and Sandra Villarreal and John Wiseman, and we've been talking behind the scenes about the lunch seating issue. So I think we're going to approach you probably next week about purchasing some seating that will accommodate more students, is more easily moved and housed, and thinking through some of those things. So I think that's on the horizon. The other part is a comment more about particularly secondary students, and I think what some kids feel about embarrassment eating lunch at school because it's free, right? I want to go to McDonald's, I want to go to Subway, I want to do those things with my friends, or I just want to get in the car and I'm not going to buy anything, but I'm going to be in the car with them and not eat. And now we've created these circumstances where more kids are going to be on campus. And so can we make it more comfortable? I think it's particularly important in our community. If you ever are around town when Second Harvest is in town, or you drive by the food bank around lunchtime when they're giving out food, food insecurity is a real thing in our community. So this is a really good opportunity. And then some of the impacts right now with the SNAP program across the country and in Washington, some of our families are going to lose the opportunity to participate in that program. And coming to school hungry isn't really hard to learn that way. So if nothing else comes out of these things in the next few months, it's that we're able to give kids a hot meal and make them feel comfortable at school. So thanks for putting all that together.
And here's some of our next steps. Again, so we're looking at inclement weather and where are all these students going to be. Honing in on the hot spots. So we know we still have some hot spots. So I've got a report that David helped me put together where I'm going to start looking at the tardies to the advisory and the fourth period. These are the classes that are after lunch. So we're going to start looking at those and then getting that word out to the parents and students that, hey, I'm going to start looking at this. And it's one of the requirements on the contract anyway. So it's just the next step into implementing everything on that contract. And again, the cleanliness for the campus, basically today, all I did is any student that was sitting there with trash or going, I just went up to them and say, hey, we're having an issue with this. Can you please make sure your trash is in the trash today? And pretty much it was. So I may have to do that, for a couple of weeks and then, maybe have to revisit it. But they did an awesome job in helping out today with that. The other thing, so I'm glad Lindsay brought that up because we were talking about, we are going to have to figure out how do we communicate with parents because it's a lot of data, it's a lot of, I guess, a lot of students in one place, and then so how do we get individual information out to parents in a timely manner? So that's kind of where we're thinking about it and what is that communication going to look like, and then where is it going to be housed? Can we do it on Parent Square, or do we is there a way on Facebook? I'm at Facebook. Yeah, I don't want to go there. Skyward. So we are looking at that piece also.
And on the technical side, I'd be interested to hear from you and other parents. Actually, you brought it up and it got me thinking, like, how would they want that to look? Do they just want colors? Like, once we know what would be beneficial for parents, then we can work on putting it together in a way that meets the need. So I may be reaching out to help me get a focus group together to find out, like, what would you want it to look like?
I know that because my daughter plays sports, if there's any type of hiccup in any of her experience at the high school, I get a notification that something's going on. So, I mean, as easy as your kid needs Saturday school, it could be a message that says your kid has lost their lunch privileges because of these reasons.
X, Y, and Z. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not a parent, but I'm going to speak for my dad because he's very pushy with me, like about grades, right? And my dad only speaks Spanish, but he can't read Spanish that well or English. So I think colors would be very helpful for him because I think he automatically knows red is bad, green is good. Yeah, I think that'd be very helpful.
One thing I did do is I took all of our data and so right now, the front desk now has access to a page where they can look up the student. So if a parent, because the student's going to say, Mom, Dad, I can't leave campus, the parents are calling. And so now our front desk ladies have a spreadsheet they can look up and they can tell the parent what area it is they need to work on, one or two areas. And we've had our secretaries at front mention how helpful that's been. So we put that together. There's something else I was thinking of, but I can't remember, so I'll think of it later.
Okay, I'm going to go back really quickly to a slide. Okay, so this one right here, I'm going to talk about the success team. So where you see the success team right there, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about right now. We gave you a whole bunch of data. We talked about a whole bunch of different things that we collect. What does that really mean, and how do we use that to make decisions and to be informed? And that's where the student success meetings come in. And so once we have all that data collected, once a week, we meet with our counselors and our admin, and we really talk about the data and the students. And it starts with 80% of our students should be in the green just from what we're doing every single day. If we have an issue where where less than 80% of our students are in the green, then that's where we pinpoint and say, okay, what is the problem overall? Like, this is a whole school situation as opposed to this small group or this small group. So kind of where David had talked about before, maybe like all of a sudden we see a whole bunch of Fs in US history. Well, that's not typical. That's not normally what we see in our data. Now we know, we go back and look at what's the situation in US history. Oh, there's this project that they're struggling with. Now we can say, okay, as a holistic group, how can we support these teachers, these students, and make sure that we hit those big situations that are going across the school? So in those success team meetings, that's the first thing we do, is we look at those big problems. What are we seeing in the data? What things do we need to work on holistically as a school? Next is your tier 2, which is like 15 to 20%. So we look at those. What does that look like? That's where you're seeing all the support come in. Okay, what kids didn't need this after school tutoring? What kids need Saturday school? What kids need to come in on Monday? How are we going to make sure that the kids get exactly what they need? Because they're in this group where they need a little bit more support. What we're doing during the day isn't enough, and they need some extra. Once again, in this meeting is where we talk about this. This is where we make sure that we're aligning the supports with the students that actually need it. And then lastly, we actually do get down to the individual students. And it's really important that we have our counselors there, and they really help us with looking at, okay, this kid right now is going through this situation at home. We really need to help them. We need to support them. What do they need? And it might be more than Saturday school. It might be more than after school tutoring. How can we get them the help that they need? And so it kind of goes on in those layers of what's at the top, what do we need to address school-wide, what do we need to hit with our kids that are just struggling a little bit and they need this support here, and then those kids that are really red, how can we really help them get the support they need, because it's more than just a Saturday school intervention. And that also helps us to make sure that we are making data-informed decisions. Instead of saying, we think we have more kids eating lunch, what do the numbers say? We think kids are coming to school more often. What are the numbers really telling us? Where is the reality of that? And it also helps us, on here you'll see that it says plan to the norm and then manage the exception. So that's where we really look at holistically, what is the norm? What is everybody doing? Do we really have an attendance problem, or is it just this small group that we really need to help them figure out how to get to school? And so those are the things that we do in the success team meeting to really align those supports and make sure that our students and our school are getting what they need for the situation that they're in.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Who's on the success team, and is it the same team for every student, or do those teams switch based on age, gender,
So the success
whatever?
team starts out with our, basically any of our people that do support. So our admin are the first layer, and they're the ones who bring in all of the data. And then we have our counselors in there. We also typically have like, sometimes we'll bring in our SROs if we need that kind of support. Sometimes we bring in our drug intervention specialists if we need that kind of support. Kind of depending on like what things we're looking at. What the data tells us is kind of who else might join those teams. But for right now, the ones that are on the teams every week is our admin and our counselors.
So we'll bring in school psychologists as well for students. Eventually in this process, we'll also bring in our migrant specialists so that we can bring them into the conversation and see how they can also provide support for our students. So it's really looking at the additional resources we have and what information or trends that we're seeing and bringing them to the table so we can align supports and resources for students.
That's a good question. Any other questions? Okay, this is my favorite slide.
And reps, you guys can add to this if you want to, because you guys have been a big piece to this.
I did pick out these pictures. They are really cute. So the first thing is CBE. That's kind of what we talked about of how we want students to act at school. It has been really hard for our student body to really get a lot of engagement in school spirit and school activities. And I think one of the biggest reasons is just the sheer number of students that we have now. And like, for example, we can't have a whole school assembly in the gym. We literally don't have enough space. So that makes it really hard for our students to really connect with each other and do some of those fun activities that we would love to do with them. So our student representatives, our student ASB has come together and they're really working on CBE, or Connect, Build, and Envision. So the C stands for Connect, and that's really having our students connect with school, connect with activities, connect with engagement of our community, just make those connections. That's the first part, is really connecting and bringing them in and finding something that they feel like they can be a part of, or something that they can belong to. We're actually seeing a big increase, especially in our clubs right now. So our data is showing us that we have a lot more kids involved in a lot of clubs, which is really cool. And we want all of our kids to have a place where they connect at school, but really finding those connections. Second is build. Once we have a connection and we've got them attached to the school some way, we want to build. We want to build relationships. We want to build agency. We want to build skills. We want all of our students to really build to be the best person that they can be, and to have the most engagement in school that they can, and to do the best that they can, and to grow in our system. And lastly is the E, which is envision. That's how we help our students envision the future. How are these connections and these skills that they've built going to help them to get to where they want to be? How do we envision what our school looks like? How do we envision how we interact with each other? So the CBE is really our students and them being connected to our school and building skills and envisioning what the future can look like. So that's one thing that our students are really working on. At the beginning of the school year, they came to our first all-staff day and really encouraged us to help with this. And it's something that I hope our teachers are doing. I know a lot of them are really trying to be more engaging in those types of activities. And hopefully we'll continue to see improvement as it goes. It's, like I said, it's going to be hard because of our facilities really is one of the biggest things that we see. But we're really trying to make sure that each and every one of our students connects with the school in some way, and then we can move on from there. Do you guys have anything to add?
So, coming from the leadership team, we definitely want to say that the all-staff day, when we did the presentation with them, I think that really encouraged teachers to really be pushing their students out there into like participating in like spirit weeks, and to coming to like OHS events, like homecoming and like the football games. And we've noticed like, well, this is my first year in leadership, but from what the other leadership students who've been there for like a couple of years have been saying, that this is like the first year where everybody's like really involved. And I think that is like one of the big, how do I say this? One of the all-staff day was one of those big like pushers for like that student engagement.
One of the speakers on the first day of school, and I hear it from our teachers all the time, they had an honest conversation with their teachers, and one of the presenters said, "You guys need to like fix your face." And when I have conversations with teachers, they're like, "Well, I just remember this one student and how their feedback to us is we need to fix our face and we need to engage with our kids more." So it has been a huge take. That conversation from our students was a huge success, because the teachers still talk about that day.
Any other questions? Does that answer your question from earlier?
Oh yeah, just a comment. So on the picture on the top right, that was like one of the football games, and that was like a dress up like glow, or what was it? Glowing,
Neon.
like, or neon, yeah. And just that was like the best game ever, because there was literally so many students, and also leadership and cheerleaders also worked very hard to engage the crowd. So something new that the cheerleaders did this year was they take it's like a floaty, and it's like a dice, and we also have this poster. So if you flip the dice and let's say it lands on 4, then 4, that's a crowd cheer, so let's involve everyone, and then it's different for each side of the dice. So that like really hyped up the crowd a lot. And also for that day of homecoming week, I saw a lot of staff participate in the dress-up days, which was really like surprising, because usually they don't participate in it. But I think the what we did on the all staff day, I think that was very effective and it really touched the teachers. And also, yeah, it was Miles that said fix your face to all the staff.
I do think
So-
students underestimate the impact that you have on us.
Thank you.
The all staff day, is that when we came and it was like not new teacher orientation, but like
The next day.
back to school stuff? Okay, so it was in the gym. Miles was the MC. That's the all staff day that we're talking about?
Yes, but when they came and talked to us was after, so you saw the whole district.
Yeah.
And then you divide up and go into your own school building.
Okay.
And they came to us when it was just OHS.
Oh, okay.
And they had been, the leadership team and a pocket of kids from DOHS had been studying what CBE is and the work that we've been engaged in for the last year and a half. Took them to see what Sunnyside High School, because this is a similar model to them, and let them see what Sunnyside looks like and talk to their leadership kids of what they do to help build CBE. And they've been able, and then they went to Mission Peak as well to collaborate on what they need to do to help build the CBE and what it means to be a Husky.
Great.
I think we still have a lot of room to improve, and I think we're constantly working on that, but we're hoping to continue to see improvements.
I will say I've gotten a ton of feedback about student involvement at football games and at volleyball games. Some of the best student engagement I've seen in at least a decade. Like cheering, attendance, collaboration, just it's been really great. The cheerleaders, I've heard nothing but praise about the cheerleaders, and they're the best they've ever been, and there's so many, and it's been great to see that aspect of school spirit come. So you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, cheerleaders are okay. That was for you. I'm just kidding. You guys are awesome.
You guys are great.
Thank you.
How many students are in the leadership program? And is that like a class, or how does that work?
Right now is our advanced leadership. There's about 30 kids in there. We do that for 2 trimesters, and then we'll start to introduce like beginning leadership class, getting kids prepared to go into the advanced one. So right now, the advanced class, they can earn college credit for it out of Eastern. So they do some project management and things like that, and it's all of our leadership students. But our leadership teacher, Bailey, she's done a really good job setting up these new classes so that there's always students in the pipeline ready to take over. It's hard when you graduate a strong group of seniors, and then you have to start all the way over. So building that system so that we have kids ready to replenish that is important to keep the system moving forward in that way.
I want to add to that. So from the leadership students, we usually are doing like hands-on things, like we're preparing for the football game and stuff like that. But the student council, which is all the class of officers, so that's like their president, their treasurer, and stuff like that. And obviously ASB, we all get together and we like, at least like once a month, I think. Tomorrow, no, not tomorrow. On Wednesday, we actually have a student council meeting with all of, is it tomorrow? I thought it was Wednesday. Okay. Well, sometime this week, yes. Student council like gets, we reflect and then see what we can do better next time, and then start brainstorming more what we can give to the leadership team and us as well. We still have like our active roles to how to like, better the next football game and stuff like that.
I just want to add one comment, particularly for the board and some folks in the audience who are potential board members. And I think it ties into what you just shared about reflection, because we had in 2020 for a couple of years some very difficult times in public schools in America. And I think one of the impacts that maybe we didn't anticipate was if you were a freshman, you had a couple of years to watch how seniors behave. This is what homecoming's like. This is what Husky Olympics is like. This is how I behave when I'm a senior. And we have this band of kids who didn't have that model, who didn't have that example. And so it's so exciting to see that come back as part of the intentional steps they're taking. But I think it's also a reminder for us to, hopefully there's another pandemic for us to deal with, but when we do things that are that dramatic, that we think about the impact we're having. There's lots of research coming out now about how that impacted the student experience, and this is one I think you can point to pretty easily. So exciting to come to the games. I do have one critique of the cheerleaders, if that's okay.
Hit me.
Did you say hit you?
She said maybe.
Okay, I love high school athletics. I particularly like high school football. I've been to hundreds of high school football games. And at East Valley, it was a difficult game for us. Their crowd was very loud and very active, kind of like our crowd has been. It was really cool to see. There were multiple occasions when we were cheering for the wrong thing.
Like,
Oh, no.
at the wrong time?
Not at the wrong time, but like who's the guy that always screams out and gets the crowd going?
Miles.
Miles, yeah. Miles needs to watch like 2 or 3 football games before he gets to cheer again.
It's like he's cheering after a fumble or what?
It was just, we're not allowed in our league to say, you shouldn't attack the other team, right? You cheer for your team, not against the other. And so their crowd was chanting, you can't do that after we got a penalty.
Yeah.
And Miles was saying, yes, we can. And I'm like, no, we got a penalty. We shouldn't be doing that. So
Yes. We told him not to do that, but then he did it anyways.
Are you done?
I think so.
Okay, so kind of to close up this part of it, why is this so exciting? First of all, number one, we know our kids. With these weekly updates in attendance, academics, and behaviors, we really know what the data is. We really know what our kids are doing in real time. We know a lot better where our kids are at any moment every week. We update it every week, so that's really exciting. These guys have done a lot of work to get the systems in place to be able to have that kind of data and to be able to look at it that often, and it's really important to know our kids that well. Secondly, we're actually paying attention. Now that we have the data, we know what, in our student success teams, what does this actually mean? So we're seeing big issues before it's a big issue. Before a bunch of kids fail a class, we can see, oh, this assignment was an issue. How are we going to help this situation? We had a lot of kids miss this day of school. Why did so many kids miss this day of school? What do we need to do to change that? And so we're really being able to find those trends large-wise, and then also individually. How can we help our individual students that really need more support than what we're giving them in a traditional school day? Next, we're taking action. So this is something we're still working on. All of this is a work in progress, but we're actually having supports in place. We're actually asking kids to come to after-school tutoring when they need it. We're actually giving places for them to be able to get the support that they need to be more successful. So really taking action and making sure that those systems are there. Could this look completely different next year? Yeah, I think a lot of these are really good. We'll stick with them, but if they're not working, we're adjusting. We're actually taking action with the data that we're doing. And that's where the journey continues. So we're building more structured responses to the data that we're seeing. And the really good thing, like Scott started collecting a lot of this data last year with the Husky Pack. Now we have comparative data. So we can see, what does the Husky Pack look like this year compared to last year? What improvements are we seeing? Which of these interventions are actually working and giving us the results that we want? Next year, we'll be able to do that again. Now we can look at holistically the whole school compared to last year, compared to this year. Which of those systems really were well, and do we continue to do? And which ones do we need to tweak? And how do we continue to improve on what we're doing? And lastly, the most important thing, we're actually seeing some growth. We're seeing improved attendance, we're seeing improved grades, we're seeing improved engagement. Our students are doing better than they were before we started this, and so that's what's most important, and that's why it's so exciting. Any questions about that before we move on?
So I'm going to quickly talk about systemic goal 2. There are 4 goals, but we are just getting grounded with Systemic Goal 1, and we're just starting to dip our toes into Systemic Goal 2, which is where our teachers come into play, and it's taking their assessments and their scope and sequence work and trying to align it. There's a picture. Trying to align it. The bottom shows their school-wide interventions and everything in Systemic Goal number 1, and then we're going to be starting to align it with classroom practices in their curriculum and instruction, so that when we end up having our success team meetings, we can make sure that we have things in place so that they're ready to go. So if we know that there's a large project or there's a large assessment coming up, we can make sure that we have the supports available so that it ebbs and flows with the teacher's curriculum and the core content areas. Again, this is just the phase of where admin's at in learning Systemic Goal number 2, but our teachers are doing scope and sequences and putting it out there so that we can start aligning classroom practices with our Systemic Goal number 1. That's all I have for Systemic Goal number 2, just because it really is a new phase of our work as we're dabbing in both worlds now of fine-tuning Systemic Goal number 1 and starting to learn about the collaboration component that comes with collaborating with our teachers. Thank you. I would like to give a shout out to my admin team and my admin intern, because without them, I don't give them enough recognition. I can't do this work, and I can't lead Othello High School without all of their hard work and commitment to our students every day. So I thank them, and if you guys have any other questions, we'll be happy to answer anything.
I did have some parents ask about cell phones. I know you did a re-emphasis of the policy last year. How has that been?
Well, right now I can tell you that 90% of all of our referrals are cell phone referrals. And that's, most of the kids I think are figuring it out. And as you can see, more than about 97% of our kids are doing what they're supposed to do. So out of the referrals, it's the cell phones. And so it's, I think some of it is the kids, just, forget or testing. And some of it too is I'm still working with the teachers to be consistent. So throughout the building. And so we're working in those two areas.
I think it's important to point out that when you focus on the little things and you pay attention to, I know cell phones seem like a minor thing, but when we put a big emphasis on that, it really heads off a lot of the bigger things. When students feel like there are no boundaries, they will find them and they'll push them to the point. And I'd rather them find the boundary earlier rather than when we have multiple fights on campus. So that was our theory last year, and it seemed to bear out, and it seems to be holding true this year, is that if we focus on the smaller things, it eliminates the bigger things or helps cut down on those.
We're also hearing from teachers that they're noticing there's students are more willing to collaborate in class. So I hope that continues.
I know for me, my student had got 2 referrals right at the beginning of the school year, and that was very upsetting as her parent. I was frustrated with her actions. So I appreciate that you're holding the students accountable. I appreciate, I think cell phones are a big deal. I mean, I think kids, they're addicted to them. That's why they can't stop picking them up, because and adults we're just as guilty. So I appreciate the work that you're putting in. I do think that, going kind of off what Pete said, during COVID, that was really kids' only way to communicate. And so they started trending in a direction that I think was very dangerous for their mental health, which is that their cell phone became their entire identity and their only, way to communicate and their resource to the outside world. And I'm happy to hear that you're making them put that away and have engagement face to face, collaborate, all the things that are important. Because as someone who employs people, when my employees are on their phone during work hours, it's frustrating. I want them to be working with each other. I want them to be helping customers. I want them to not be addicted to their phone. So I appreciate that work that you guys are putting in. And I really appreciate the presentation you did tonight. It was excellent. Normally, I have a little bit of adult ADD. So if something tends to go a little long, I have a hard time paying attention. every Sunday in church I struggle. But I will say I was fully engaged all night tonight. So thank you so much for your presentation. All the slides were very informational. I really appreciated our site visit. I got a lot out of it, and so did the people that I brought with me. Thank you for your time, your attention, all of the things. Hopefully, in the next few years, we can collaborate and build a new high school or a revision of our current high school. So I appreciate all of the effort that you guys put in, and for tonight and everything that you've brought to us. Thank you so much.
I was going to say, I just kind of want to reiterate what Lindsay said as well. I feel like I didn't graduate high school that long, but I've seen, at least right now, just so much growth, especially attendance-wise, because I was someone who did skip and I didn't get in trouble for it. And I was on the sports team and I still got to play softball and all these things. And I'm like, it's nice that you guys are doing that now, because a lot of that stuff affected me later on, whether that was with my parents or personal relationships. So it's really nice to see the growth of the school. And honestly, I think this admin team is all different from when I was in high school. So it's nice to see my 2 teachers now a part of admin team, because Swartz is my Algebra 2 teacher. So yeah, I just want to say it's really nice to see the growth. And I mean, now as a parent, being able to see, like, there is more transparency, because even at that time, I feel like my parents didn't know anything and I could get away with it. So it's nice to see that you guys, like, Izarel's not here, but keeping kids accountable, and this is the way that you guys are doing that. So I do appreciate that. So, yeah.
Wow. I was really wowed the other day and tonight. Not so long ago, there was a time when we'd go to the high school for a board site visit, and we would dread that. Lindsay could testify to that, too. We were prepared to either be beat up or have somebody in the room beat up. But it was a complete change from this last visit. I absolutely loved it. And all the information, having the parents there, their feedback to you guys, and your guys explaining it to them, and the reasoning why was a complete difference to that. Some of those parents come out with a completely different understanding. I know my son did, and I know some of you have dealt with him, and he had a lot more understanding going out of that room. I wish he could have completed the rest of the tour with us, but he's looking forward to another time to come and do that. I hope this board continues not to let this be the only site visit with a small group of parents like that. It would be nice if they could do it 2-3 more times this year and just build off that. It was nice to see one of the hardest decisions last year was in the closure of DOHS. But to see how you have brought those kids in and incorporated them into the high school makes me feel so much better about that decision. Thank you for that part. The closed campus, first didn't know about that for the first year. But you know what? It's made a big, big difference. 96% attendance rate, over 700 kids having lunch. That's a big accomplishment in a 1-year period. It is. Wonderful job on that. Wonderful job. You had a page up there. Why is this so exciting? The first one on the list, we know your kids. But because of the opportunities and the changes that you have did this year, I think it's given the kids more opportunities to know you guys. And that makes a big difference. I think we could all go back in our high school years and remember that one individual at the high school that made a difference. And you guys are doing that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I've got something to say. There's a person here in our team that's always there, has our back, and is always making sure everybody gets their pat on the back. But she hardly ever gets it. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that as we move forward, we couldn't do it without the leader that we have with Kat. So thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. There's one more thing I want to add to that. But, you know, we know we've got a problem at the high school with the size. I never did really hear any of you guys complain about that. I heard you guys, what you're doing to deal with it. Every space that you're using to make it work. And I really appreciate that too. You're doing everything you can to accommodate a high school of 1,400 students that was only built for about 1,000.
I have to thank my teachers because I hate we hate taking teacher spaces. So I thank my amazing staff because they are just so flexible with all of the needs because we all know how difficult it is.
And our kids deserve the experience. We can't let those types of barriers keep them from getting the high school experience that they deserve. So, I mean, we're mission forward, so we just have to keep that in front of, this is why we do what we do. I mean, I've been at the high school for a long time. I love the high school, I always have, but it feels a lot different this year. And it wasn't bad in the past. I thought it was great, but it's going to be better. So we keep that on the forefront. We just all work differently and better together. So that's where we're going.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate all of your information. Thank you so much. I feel like we should have clapped or something. I don't know, but it was great. It was really good. Do we have any public comment tonight? No public comment. Okay, we'll move on to upcoming events. We have our board site visit on November 3rd at Scootney, and then our next regular board meeting November 10th. Then we will be meeting for our WASDA conference November 20th through the 22nd. Then another regular board meeting November 24th. And Thanksgiving break, November 26th through the 28th. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Okay. We will move on to the board self-assessment of the meeting.
Very, very good informational meeting. That was a quick hour. But it was very good information, keeping us up on it. Really appreciate it.
Definitely missing Azaro tonight. So that would be my delta, is that we don't have a complete board, especially for a presentation that was that informational and exciting. Also appreciate the superintendent informational items about moving forward with PLU and potential opportunities for our students to get help with college. Does anyone else have anything?
I'd like to recognize the student reps for not only their report, but also their participation and I think practical and pragmatic ideas that they often share at the meeting. So I want to acknowledge them for their participation.
Agreed. Good job.
I would just like to also mention, I know it wasn't part of the meeting, but Career Day. Great success. I was there in the morning early. This is another great opportunity that everybody gets to show our students what's out there. And really appreciated that. I know it's a lot of work, especially for a lot of the staff at the high school for that day, giving up space and everything else, but it's well worth it in the long run.
Okay. At this time, the board will recess into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss potential litigation and performance of a public employee.